And now from Studio 8, the Squab After Dark with your host, Gizmo!
Hey everybody, welcome tonight. We're gonna have a really great show. Last week, we interviewed Ponyboy, one of the interesting guests, but now we have another interesting guest. His name, Tex. Tex? Hello, Tex. Wonderful to have you on. It's good to be on. Now, Tex, tell me, what's your home life like? Well, first of all, me and my older brother are used to living on our own because our pop is just, off doing rodeo circuses and stuff, so we're just living on our own. My brother Mason, he's just worried about his basketball scholarship, so I'm worried about going to college and getting out of the town. And me and my best friend Johnny, we're just taking it easy. Well, that sounds like a lot of freedom. Not really, since Mason gets on my case about everything. My dad wasn't, he was always the fun one, and Mason was always the one that would punish me on my case about everything. So Tex, how are you doing in your school? Well, I get into trouble a lot at school, and I'm used to getting swats. But the last thing I did in school really made me think twice about getting into trouble. What exactly did you do that caused you to take things more seriously? Well, what happened was I glued caps and the letters of the typewriters at school. Yeah, well, me and Johnny thought it was really funny, but the teachers really didn't find any humor in it at all. Yeah. I heard that you jumped the local creek on a motorcycle. What made you do that? Well, honestly, I did it for my best friend's sister. I really liked her, and I think she really liked me, so I decided to just do something crazy that, get me popular in school. So, when Johnny couldn't jump it, I decided to get his motorcycle and jump the creek myself, and I made it, but, had a few scars. But yeah, it was still pretty awesome. All the guys cheered me on. Yeah. How did you feel when your older brother sold your favorite horse, Negrito? Well, honestly, I couldn't believe that Mason would sell my horse. It was crazy. That was my favorite horse ever. I would take care of it every single day, and we were friends. And when I found out that Mason sold it for money, for the house, for rent and electricity, because we were running low on money, I was really mad at Mason, but then Mason beat me up, and I didn't think Mason would beat me up since he was my older brother. I always looked up to him. And what did you do? Well, when he beat me up, left me pretty scars. I just ran out of the house, bleeding. I was crying, and I was determined to look for my horse, Negrito. Now I don't miss my horse, Negrito, so much, knowing that he sold it to a little girl who takes care of it as more than I did. So yeah, I'm doing okay. How did you feel when you found out that your dad isn't really your biological father? Well, I was shocked. I knew Mason was his favorite son, and I figured out why. Because Mason was his son, I wasn't. It just turned my whole world upside down. That's when I got busted for gluing all the caps in the typewriters, and it all came out in the open in the office. But I just ran out of the school's office. I just ran away, and it was crazy. And you got shot? How did that happen? Alright, well, so I ran out of the office, and I found my buddy Lem, who, was making some stops, and he was really a drug dealer, Lem, but, I was all mad at Mason and mad at my dad, so I just went with him to all the stops he was going. So I went So me and Lem stopped at some guy's house to drop off some drugs, and you know, they had a big argument, and the guy Lem was dealing to pulled out a gun out of nowhere, and that's when I just had it. That's when that was the last straw when he pulled out that gun. So I charged the guy. I charged him. He shot. I took the gun away from him and I was just pointing at him while he was on the ground. He was begging for his life. But I really felt like killing him. Because that's how much stress I was going through. I really felt like I was just going to kill him right then and there. But then I decided not to. And me and Lem just got out of there. And I was done. So we drove off and I threw the gun. How did you feel? Blood was just coming out of the wound. It was crazy. The bullet was really hot. It was burning on the inside. It was crazy. Blood was going all over the Lem's truck. So he just dropped me off. He said he couldn't have. He just dropped me off at the supermarket. So I was bleeding all over the place, crawling, and finally I found a payphone. So I used the change I had and tried, and I couldn't remember Mason's number, so I ended up calling Johnny's house, and Jamie answered the phone, and I told her what happened, and she was screaming, but she turned over the phone to Cole. I told Cole where I was, and he told me to hang up the phone and stay there. I was getting all disoriented. I couldn't, my vision was getting blurrier and blurrier. I was just on the ground bleeding to death, and then out of nowhere, Lem comes back and he doesn't know what to do, and I tell him, call Mason, because he would know what to do in that situation. But then I just knock out, and all I could think about was Jamie, you know. Well, I woke up in the ER, you know, a couple days later, and my dad was by my side. Yeah. Well, thanks for being on my show, Tex. You're very interesting. You're an awesome kid. Well, thanks for having me. Well, that's all the time we have for you guys tonight on the Squab After Dark. I'm your host, Gizmo. Thanks for watching. Squab.
All the way across town, she's been searching for